Anchors up, sails at full. Welcome to the Sloopcast. How are you doing today, Kyle?
Doing all right, Jared. Doing all right. How are you doing today?
Kyle, we have a lot to get to today. So you
Well,
wanna
first off, Jared.
oh,
First
try
off,
tried
it
to
is
do the
game week.
It is
It is
game
game week,
week.
Jared.
It is game week.
College football is finally here.
Let's crack one for game week. What do you say?
You can crack one. I already came prepared with my bourbon here. Here's to a season. What you drinking today, Jared?
Combustion, brewery out of Pickerington, Ohio.
Awesome. Drink local beer.
Drink local beer. And hey, Combustion, if anyone you sponsor us. The
All right, let's go ahead and jump right into it here. So we're going to talk about the national do our national prediction episode today here, but before we do that, we're just going to do just a few news related to Ohio State here, some camp news, some news related to the university here. So we'll jump right into that here. So since last we talked, Jared, we have five new black stripe removals.
all
Since
right,
last
all
we
right.
talked here. So we've had Brandon Innes, the stout receiver we've mentioned numerous of times on this episode, as is black stripe removed. Joshua Pedelier, also mentioned him numerous of times. Jihad Carter, senior safety at Ohio State. Arvell Reese, as well as Austin Saraville, all with their black stripes removed.
Not bad. I believe it's Padilla. If he pronounces it like the Smosh guy pronounces it anyway, and I think they're spelled at least similarly. So,
Yeah.
Outside of that, Kyle, not bad. All right. More news specifically from the university, Kyle.
Yeah. So we all know that Gene Smith is stepping down next year as the president at Ohio State, and he didn't take
Director.
Athletic director. Thank you.
And the president stepped down last year.
And the president did step down last
we
year.
don't, yeah, Johnson stepped down last year. We don't know who the new athletic director is yet.
No, not yet. But we do know who the 17th president at Ohio State University will be here, and that will be Walter Ted Carter Jr.
Ted Carter Jr.
Yeah, he's Walter Carter.
That's a lot of names.
Let me try that again. It's Walter Carter Jr., but he goes by Ted.
Walter Ted Carter Jr. Yeah, that's by the way, that is at least three first names. Is his middle name Ted? Kyle, I know you don't know the answer to that. Is his middle name Ted?
No, it is not. It is not.
Well, how does Walter
Edward.
turn
It
into
is
Ted?
Edward. It is Edward.
So Walter Tedward Carter Jr. Gene becoming Big Ten commish. If he were a few years younger, I would have not ruled that out.
Yeah,
I have three first names.
I have not looked into how he became, why his nickname was Ted. I'd have to look. I'd have to look into that more. But either way, he will be
It's because it's Tedward.
Yeah. So he will be the president at Ohio State starting January 1st.
There you go.
Also some news here with the passing of Bob Kennedy earlier this year. Ohio State has found their new voice at Ohio Stadium, and that would be Tom Snyder. Tom has done some PA and just different parts of the country. He also was over at UCLA for a little bit, but he's at Columbus here and will be the new voice here starting this year.
New PA in the horseshoe.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right, Kyle.
I think
national
national
preview special. Let's get into the meats. Let's get into the bones. national preview. We did a Big Ten preview a little bit ago. We're gonna zoom out a bit and look at the national scope. Bama might suck, is what Zach says. Bama might not be up to Bama's standards. Bama might suck by the standard in which Bama is held to. Unless they get surprisingly good quarterback play, that would be my prediction for Bama. Decent odds of their collapse continuing. I mean, they made the playoffs last year.
They did, yeah.
Let's not bury Saban yet. They
didn't make it last year, Jared. They did not make it last year.
Oh, my bad. Georgia happened.
Yes, Georgia happened.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm just like, listen. I'm not one to count. I am not one to count Saban out until Saban counts Saban out. That's all I'm going to say about that. So, let's look. When we did the Big Ten preview, we went through the Pick 6 preview and sort of did a bit of a reaction to their preview. Let's start with their first team All-Americans. Caleb Williams is their quarterback. I believe it was Austin last year tried to make the case that Caleb Williams was not good. I believe that was the case he tried to make to me many times last year. He's going to stick to it apparently. All right, you ride that horse. Hey, listen, I appreciate you staring all of the odds in the face, all of the facts and all of the odds in the face and saying no. Austin. Product of the system. Listen, if you honestly believe that he's a product of the system, then why is anyone worried about the Ohio State quarterback? Because
exactly.
Because we got a system and we got products. If being a product of the system is that so easy? Not my fault. Everyone is stupid, Jared. Blake Corum, number 1 running back. I've said I don't want to jump into this too hard because I know we talked about this during the Big Ten special. I don't think Blake Corum is the best running back on his team, and I'll just leave it at that.
Agreed. Yeah, but the other first team running back half years, Clemson's Will Shipley. Now I understand that Shipley is a great athlete, but I think there's many more better running backs than Will Shipley though.
I like Singleton at Penn State.
Yep.
I forget the guy's name, but the guy at Ole Miss I like. And by the way, just
Judkins, I think is his last name.
Yeah. Allen at UW, I think is also. I was just trying not to name another Big Ten guy. If I'm being honest, Austin is why I didn't say his name next. I mean, yeah, I know it's a very Big Ten heavy position. And by the way, Henderson, like I don't know why Henderson isn't even on the 4th team in this, but whatever. Let's try not to be Buckeyes. Let's try not to be too hard into the Buckeye lean. In this episode, we're doing a national preview. That being said, the wide receivers are number 1, number 2, Marvin Harrison and Mecca Ibuka, which is just true. It's just true. The top ranked not Ohio State wide receiver is a guy named Rome out of Washington, who is in Odunze. I don't know, maybe. But I know he's excellent. And Kyle, Ohio State fans will remember Brock Bowers, the tight end out of Georgia, making first team. Ohio State will not place anyone else in the second team offense, which I think is questionable. And though Donovan Jackson does make third team, and Cade Stover makes fourth team tight end, which, if I'm being honest, feels generous. I'm just gonna say it. I think that's generous. But yeah, if you look at the offensive line, two Michigan guys, one, the huge offensive tackle out of Penn State, who's amazing, might be one of the, if not the best tackle in the country. J.C. Latham, a guy who, if you follow Ohio State recruiting, all know, unfortunately, he'll be starting for Bama and not Ohio State this year, but also makes first team, as well as a Georgia offensive lineman. If you just sort of scroll your eyes through the first and second team offense here, what you're going to see, especially if you project forward the conferences, are mostly Big Ten and SEC guys,
with a splash of a ACC and Pac-12 in here and there.
Well, I'm future casting, so I'm giving the Big Ten, USC, and Washington.
Oh, I gotcha.
Yeah.
So future Big Ten University, Washington, with Michael Penix, a Sloop Cat favorite here. Second team quarterback, Jared.
We are hard supporters of Michael Penix on this podcast. I have to say, though, I don't think he's making my top two quarterbacks in the country.
No.
I'm just saying it.
No, but anytime we see him play, though, that the whole Sloop Cats rises up to watch him.
Yes. Yeah. We always just show up ready for Penix. Defense. Let's fast forward to the defense. Jared Verse, an amazing pass rusher out of Florida State, starts off the first team defense. Tyler Davis, big dude from Clemson. Michael Williams from Georgia. And JT does make first team defensive line. Jared is famous. Yeah, that's what they say. Then we got at linebacker, Tommy Eichenberg making first team linebacker. Along with Harold Perkins and Jeremiah Trotter from LSU and Clemson, respectively. Austin, are you gonna stick with the bit of not liking Tommy Eichenberg this year, or are we gonna let that one go? Are we gonna let that one go? Are you gonna admit that you're wrong on that one? Because I'm going to need you to go ahead and admit that you're wrong on that one, if you don't mind. He's a good middle linebacker who has a as long as he is never in coverage, I'm happy with. That's not fair. And quite frankly, racist. I'll say it.
One of the coolest names, though, Jared, here, defensive backs from Alabama, Kool-Aid McKinstry.
Yes, Kool-Aid McKinstry. Yeah, I mean, how can you go wrong with a name like that? Kalen King also in the first team defensive backs, along with Cooper DeJean from Iowa and Malachi Starks from Georgia. Again, it's very Big Ten and SEC. Even Illinois places two guys in the second string in the defensive line. So just keep that in the back of your head. That at least Pick 6 Preview is really high on the Illinois defensive line this year. All right, but let's look at the position groups in general. USC is marked with best quarterback. Not a surprise. We're mostly talking. Mostly talking. I can't talk, Kyle. We're mostly talking about starters when we're talking about quarterbacks. But if we look at like the running backs, number 1 in the country, Michigan, which I think is, especially when you talk about returning talent, I think fair. I do think the Pick Six preview guys are.
It's fair for a preseason preview.
Yes, which is what this is.
Yeah.
I do think Blake Corum is overrated. Don't get me wrong. I think he's a fine running back. I think he's a good running back. Again, I think Donovan Edwards is a better running back. But I don't think Blake Corum belongs in the conversation of like best running back in college football. That's all I'm really saying. Clemson, number 2 running back category. Then Penn State, Ohio State, Wisconsin.
Look at that.
Very Big Ten heavy.
Yeah, 4 of the top 5 in the Big Ten. We mentioned this a few weeks ago about how much we're going to see the Big Ten. I think we're going to see them go back into very run heavy type of offenses this year. So we're going to see a lot of running back plays this year.
Georgia should be bumped down because of injuries. Yeah, I mean, but this preview was put out before that. Wide receivers / tight ends, no surprise. Ohio State number 1, USC number 2, Georgia, Texas, Washington round out the top 5. Offensive line, marking Michigan as the number 1 offensive line, and I really wish I could disagree with that. I don't.
In terms of talent, yeah, Georgia and Alabama 2 and 3, and then Ohio State and Texas rounding out the top 5 there. Yeah, I can't
for
really,
Ohio State.
Yeah, I think it's generous. I can't disagree with Georgia being 2. Alabama has the talent with the offensive line there, especially with the recent recruiting that they've had with the offensive line. Can't really disagree with them being at 3rd.
Yeah, no, I'm saying is Ohio State. I mean, I guess I don't know a ton about the Texas or Ole Miss or Oregon State offensive line situation. I don't know much about Penn State's offensive line situation outside of having one really good tackle. I don't know I don't know their top 5 guys the way I know Ohio State's top 5 guys. But either everyone is having issues fielding an offensive line this year, or the Pick Six preview guys has Ohio State offensive line overrated. Or one of the 2 solutions here. It'd be weird if you did know about Penn State's offensive line. I don't think that's true. I think I'll know a lot about Penn State's offensive line in a couple of weeks, which I guess is probably not what you meant, because obviously, that's fair. It's fair. Not our rivals.
Jared.
Well, of course not.
Jared, I have questions.
Yeah.
I have questions about the defensive side here. And where they
something we covered during the Big Ten preview in detail, so I don't want to harp on it too bad this time around. You can go listen to the Big Ten preview. The Pick Six preview guys has Ohio State's defensive line way underrated. Monstrously underrated. I was looking at a mock draft just because I was in like preparation for this show. I'm like, okay, who does the NFL think the top talents coming out of college football this year are? I literally saw multiple mock drafts that had 3 Ohio State defensive linemen being picked in the first round. So it's like, it's not just me. Jared did homework without Kyle, always. Like, it's not just me. Literally see. Oh, that's going to be way too small for people to read on the screen, Kyle. Oh, no, that was Austin. Oh, this fantasy. Get your fantasy crap out of here. Get your fantasy crap out of here. It's absolutely insane.
You think about Mike Hall Jr., It's
I've seen
first round talent.
I've seen go top 5, top 10 in some mock drafts.
Yep. JT and Jack Sawyer, projected to be first rounders as well too.
Yeah. And I don't think it's without question that, like, I mean, Tyleek is a second day guy, I would say. A lot of that depends upon how this year goes for him. If he can, I think the biggest knock on Tyleek in the past may have been not taking plays off or staying on the field. So it's like conditioning, in other words. And I think he's going to one of the big storylines in camp this year is like Tyleek's conditioning and his shape and everything. So I think he takes a big step this year. Yeah. I literally said I didn't want to harp on this too much because we did during the Big Ten preview. So, and then we just went ahead and did it anyway. But, so yeah, let's just move on from that. Yeah, Ohio State not well represented as far as the position groups on the defensive side, and like good, underrate us. That's fine.
Yep, that's fine. Perfectly fine.
But defensive line: Georgia, LSU, Alabama, Florida State, Clemson are your top 5. Linebackers are Clemson, Michigan. Huh?
Yeah. Huh?
Alabama, Georgia, LSU, rounding out the top 5. Defensive backs: Georgia, Iowa, Michigan, Penn State, Florida State. Listen, every year I have to hear about how good Iowa's defensive backs are. And, like, I don't ever remember. Oh, maybe that one time. I don't ever remember, like, leaving an Ohio State Iowa game thinking, oh man, those defensive backs are good. Like, I feel like they're good against Big Ten West wide receivers. So I'm just saying. All right, Kyle, let's talk about the ACC.
All right. Where would you like to start? Do you want to just to do pretenders, and do you want to talk about who do we think is going to win it? Who's pretenders in here? Because I think.
Well, let's first say no divisions in the ACC this year.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's notable. No more Atlantic, no more Coastal. Thank God I could never remember who was in which.
No one could.
Thank God. I knew there was the one that had
in
Clemson and Florida State, and then I knew there was the other one.
And then in future years, it's going to be the Atlantic and then the Pacific.
No. It'll just be death. The ACC won't exist in a few years, trust me.
Yeah.
By the way, just tossing this out there, ACC dead by 2030.
I take the under.
It's definitely under. That's not meant to be. It's not meant to be an over under number. That's meant to be like a cap. Like they're not going past 2030. We're in the last decade. Over under 2026 and a half. I think. See, now that's a good over under number. No, I'm saying they're not going to live past 2030 is my point. I'm putting an end cap on it. I'm not trying to make a medium. Anyway, according to Pick 6 previews, team number 1 is Florida State. Team number 2 is Clemson. Team number 3, UNC. Team number 4, Pittsburgh. Then Miami, then Louisville, then NC State. And I don't feel like going past that. Kyle, you live in ACC country. I feel like Florida State is the Texas of Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Where every year we're asking, are they back? And I know they. I don't know.
They're still waiting for basketball season to start. I don't know.
You're talking about the ACC in general or Florida State?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. I don't know.
But I mean,
like
I understand.
Outside of the like the 2 years, and they were completely held up by their quarterback. Like sometimes you get a quarterback who's just that good and they lift your entire program, right? I want FSU to lose to LSU and LSU to lose. I mean, we'll get there. So Kyle,
I understand the hype with Florida State with the talent they have coming back. They have a really good receiving core here. They have a pretty good quarterback and Jordan Travis,
one of the best pass rushers, one of the best pass rushers in college football.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and their linebacking crew is spot on too. So I understand the hype for Florida State this year.
They always have talent.
It's just going to be And the question always comes back to is it's the coaching and how well do they actually put it together in the season.
It's the Texas question. Are they back? Like Texas always has talent and Florida State always has talent, but they never outside of the one time that they made the playoffs. Have they sniffed the playoffs since? Like realistically, like I don't feel like they have. Answer is always no. I mean, we'll see. Like Florida State and Texas are both getting a lot of hype this year. We'll see.
Yeah, speaking of Texas,
Kyle,
I saw this.
Overrated Florida State this year, or appropriately rated? Pick Six Previews does place Florida State in the playoffs in their official prediction this year.
I think for that reason, I'm going to say overrated. I don't think they're a playoff team this year. I think they'll definitely make a good jump from last year, but to be a playoff, to make it to the playoffs this year, I just don't see it this year.
They have Clemson at number 2. Who do you think's better, Clemson or Florida State? Do you have a hard read on that? Chat, does anyone have a hard read on that? Who do you like most in the ACC, chat? No idea. FSU is much better. See, and that's sort of the thing.
Yeah.
And I think it sort of plays into the Duke. That's the wrong Raleigh-Durham team. Here's the thing. I give the Tar Heels equal opportunity to win the ACC this year as I do Florida State and Clemson.
Well, I'll say it. Thing. I just don't trust Clemson because they've had back-to-back years where they couldn't throw the ball at all, and their offense just looked horrendous. And I understand that they got a new coordinator this year to try to fix things, but I gotta see it before I can put Clemson into the talk of winning the ACC this year. So I think to me it's between Florida State and UNC. And then there's a clear line, and then maybe Clemson, and then another clear line,
no.
And then everybody else.
There's a clear line at 3, and like I people in the chat giving me crap for hyping up North Carolina, and that's fine. You're correct. They don't have much of a defense. Acknowledged.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that there's a clear line under the number 3. It's not above the line is not above the Tar Heels. It's below the Tar Heels. It's Florida State, Clemson, UNC in that first tier. Then Pittsburgh, Miami, Louisville, NC State, I guess, in the next group. FSU, ... Clemson, several dots UNC, even more dots everybody else. I think you have one or two more dots that are necessary between UNC and Clemson.
Yeah. Wake Forest is don't. Yeah. You can put a fucking Wake Forest already.
Yeah, Notre Dame destroyed any chance Wake Forest had.
So my prediction, I think Florida State will win the conference, the ACC this year, but I think UNC will will be there, but their defense is so. I'll just say it's bad. It's bad. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you have one of the best quarterbacks in the country on that team, and I think in college football that buys you a lot. They have a good wide receiving core. They have good running backs. Offensive line is good enough. But yeah, their defense is atrocious.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'm just saying Clemson feels like such a question mark to me. Because like they're in a new era. They got a new quarterback. Clemson was just signing this middling subprime team for such a long time. Then they got a great streak of quarterbacks and became a powerhouse in college football. And then the first time they had someone who was subpar, and Uiagalelei wasn't bad, but he definitely wasn't good, if that makes sense. And then they just fell off the face of the earth. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with a new quarterback. Has Clemson completely fallen off? Or do we place all of the blame on Uiagalelei? We'll see.
Like I said, we'll see. We'll see with their new.
But my prediction is Florida State wins the ACC over UNC in the title game. That's my ACC prediction.
Yep, that's mine too.
The blame is that the
as boring
left.
as we
that
made
only
it
accounts for last year, though. They fell off before last year. All right, let's move on to the Big 12. Now, Texas and Oklahoma still playing football in the Big 12 for this season.
I have a fun fact for you, Jared, about Texas. How many times has Texas won the Big 12 conference since joining in what was it, 95 or something like that? How many did they win?
I will say they did in. I'm gonna say Mac Brown won 2, and that's it.
Yeah, just add in one more to their when they first joined in what was it, 95 or 96.
Okay,
they've only won the Big 12 conference 3 times.
Not great.
So they won it the first year. They won it the first year at the Big 12, and they're going to try to win it in their last year of the Big 12. Will they do it?
Probably.
The question is who's good enough to beat them here? Because in previous years it's like Oklahoma, but now with Oklahoma trying to pick up pieces from last year, like
Texas is good enough to beat Texas. Maybe. I don't like the Big 12 this year. When it comes down to it, TCU lost a ton of talent. They were a very good team last year.
What about the reigning champions? Gone. What about the reigning champions from last year?
No, I said TCU.
Was it TCU or?
Yeah, TCU's in the playoffs, homie.
No, it was Kansas State.
Oh, well, who cares? Doesn't matter. TCU went to the playoffs. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I don't care who won the Big 12. One team went to the playoffs. I'm just coping. I'm coping. TCU has a better chance of going 3-9 than 11-1. I hate that I thought about that. I hate that I even thought about that, to be honest. But I thought about that. Yeah, they're just not. They're not good this year. They're not good this year. They lost too much key talent. Oklahoma, I think, will be fine this year, but I'm not willing to go above fine. Kansas State has an opportunity if they get an upset over Texas or Oklahoma to be in the Big 12 championship game. This is kind of like the ACC conversation all over again, where I draw a hard line underneath the third team. I think you have it's actually a lot like the ACC situation. You have a recruiting powerhouse in Florida State / Texas sitting at the top of the conference. You have another team that has had more success recently, but maybe doesn't exactly have all the talent lined up at the moment in Clemson / Oklahoma sitting right behind them. And then you have the pesky little maybe good, maybe not good, doesn't quite have all the talent, but have all the chutzpah in Kansas State / UNC.
So TCU, out of 133 football programs and FBS, out of 133, TCU is returning 33% of their production, which puts them at 128th out of 133.
Yeah, it's we all loved what TCU was able to accomplish last year. That this is not that team.
No,
I like Baylor this year. Actually, I'll believe it when I see it. I mean, I'm sure they're fine. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure they're fine, but I don't see them challenging. I don't see them challenging for the championship game. Again, I draw a pretty hard line underneath the top three teams: Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas State. Kyle,
what about
worth
the
noting.
What about the Jayhawks? What about the Jayhawks with Jalen Daniels over there?
I think Kansas has a. I like Kansas more than I like TCU. I like Kansas more than I like Baylor. Hell, I think I like Kansas as like the fourth team in the Big 12 this year, which is a wild thing to say. And maybe I'm just eating up that hype way too much. But again, they're kind of like UNC. Got an impactful quarterback who has good talent around him, but good Lord, that defense.
Yeah. I think the offense. Yeah, the offense. You hit it, Jared. Exactly. Like Kansas is going to be similar to like UNC. They gotta put up points because their defense is going to let up points as well too. And from a preseason here look at Kansas, they have arguably the best quarterback in the Big 12, the second best running back core, and the third best wide receiver core in the Big 12 here. So yeah, we'll see here, and the fourth offensive line too. So yeah, they have potential to make a splash in the Big 12, but it's Texas. It's Texas to run away with this conference this year.
Yeah, and it just it's a giant failure. It's a giant failure by Sark and the entire Texas program if they don't win or at least go to the Big 12 championship game this year. It's a giant failure. The road is laid before them. They just gotta not screw it up.
They've only ever been to the Big 12 championship game 6 times since joining the Big 12. Only 6.
We know that they won 3 of those.
3-3.
The loss that comes to mind immediately was in Dominican Sue ending Colt McCoy's shoulder. Is the primary memory when I think of Texas losing a Big 12 championship game.
Yeah.
Cheering on Sark screwing it up. Hey man.
Okay, let's move on.
He can't.
All right, let's move on to the Pac-4. I mean the Pac-12 here, Jared.
The Pac-12 for one more year, Kyle. Pac-12 for one more year. Utah, who's on their way to the Big 12, is ranked number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Washington, who's on their way to the Big 10, is ranked number 1. They're tied. And USC, on their way to the Big 10, sits at number 3. And Oregon, on their way to the Big 10, is at 4. UCLA, on their way to the Big 10, is at number 5. Oregon State, hey, Oregon State at number 6. That's a Pac-12 do or die team right there. That's a Pac-4 team. Oregon State, you're a Pac-4 team, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
Number 1
until you're a Mountain West team. That is until you're a Mountain West team.
But yeah, you look at the Pac-12 here this year. A lot of things you like about Utah, especially on the defensive side here. I think they got a lot of players returning here. I'm just looking here. Yeah, they have 83% of their production returning from last year, which puts them 5th in the country. A lot to like about Utah, and a lot of high expectations here. And looking at their schedule here, well, they play Florida to start off with here, and yeah, we'll find out right away if this is the real deal or not for Utah.
Yeah, I mean, Utah is capable of putting together really good football teams. Like, we know that. I have to stop. Kyle, I keep wanting to talk about conference realignment. I keep having to stop myself because it's just not what we're doing today. You can go watch the Big 2 Part 3, which we released a few weeks back, if you want to hear us talk about that. Utah and UW beating USC. I mean, that's how I don't personally think that. I like USC to win the Pac-12. Gangland, which podcast, which Sloopcast rule is this? When in doubt, pick the quarterback. I'm pretty sure we have that one on the list. Yes,
we do.
Caleb Williams is just one of the best quarterbacks in the country, and in a conference that is not super talent deep. Give me the guy with the quarterback.
I'm going to pick.
When in doubt, pick the quarterback is number 3 on the list, Kyle. That's pretty high up there.
It is. But I'm also going to follow by that rule. When in doubt, pick the quarterback. But also a defense that will not let up that many points. I really like the Huskies this year.
I do too.
I really like the Huskies. That you talked about Penix earlier, a Sloopcat favorite here. But they also got a really good wide receiver core. We mentioned Rome earlier in this episode here. McMillan is another wide receiver that you're going to hear a lot about too. And their defense is pretty good too. They're really good on the defensive line, the linebackers. I think they'll make some plays here in Washington. I think Washington has a very, very good shot here at winning the Pac-12 this year. So I think for my prediction, I'm going to pick the Huskies.
Gangland, I approve of your addition of Rule 14, but much like with Rule number 4, we're going to have to start adding slashes in there. So don't employ Alex Grinch. I 100% endorse that as the new Rule 14. But I'm going to need you to add a /Tim Beck in there if you're going to that. That's the condition. You need to add /Tim Beck in there, and we're going to keep adding to that list. Just so you know. Thank you. We have BIM Tech in there, which is also acceptable. Yeah, the Big 12, or excuse me, the Pac-12. I'll say this about the Pac-12. In the ACC and in the Big 12, we drew the line under the 3rd team. I'm gonna give them at least 4 teams here. I know there's a lot of people hyping up UCLA. I don't see it. I think they'll be fine.
Yeah.
I don't see them seriously challenging, on a week-to-week basis with Utah, Washington, USC, and Oregon. I do think that there's probably a little bit of extra delineation between the top 3 and Oregon. But I do like Oregon fine this year. I think we have seen better Oregon teams in the past, but I still think that this is a really good Oregon team that has the potential to go to the Pac-12 championship game and win the Pac-12. They're probably my fourth choice to win it all, but I think they're a legitimate choice. Like, I don't think UCLA, Oregon State are legitimate choices, legitimate chances to win the Pac-12 this year. I think Oregon is still absolutely a legitimate choice. I still am picking USC, and I know that they have deficiencies on that team, especially on the defensive side. Again, we already talked about Alex Grinch, and don't bet on Bo Nix. That could be Rule 15. It's not, but it could be. But I think Bo Nix has looked fine at Oregon. Not great. And again, I'm not putting money on Oregon, but I like Oregon. But I am going to go USC and Washington in the Pac-12 championship game with USC winning.
Okay, yeah, and I got Washington and USC in the Pac-12 championship with the Huskies, making defensive plays to win the Pac-12. Because I can't trust Alex Grinch though, and we saw that this Saturday too. I mean, they let up some big plays against San Diego State last weekend. Oof. It may be a long weekend for that defense, or a long season, I should say.
Yeah, that all looked all too familiar for Ohio State fans.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Did we make an official prediction for the Big 12?
I said Texas. I don't think I said who was going to the Big 12 championship game, because honestly, I don't think it matters. I think it's Texas.
Okay, I'll say Texas and Kansas State with Texas winning.
All right. Let's go to the SEC, Jared.
SEC still holding on to divisions. I don't know if this is. I think they've also announced plans to eliminate divisions, if I am not mistaken. But for now, still divisions in the SEC. You have Alabama projected to win the West, with LSU, Texas A&M, Ole Miss trailing behind them. And in the East, you have Georgia, and does it matter past that?
Nope.
No. I mean,
just Georgia, and that's it.
It is Tennessee, then Kentucky, and then Florida and Missouri tied for fourth. But, like, Kyle, who's going to win the East? Georgia? Okay, cool. Let's talk about the West. Like, you want to talk about a hard line? Is Georgia... I don't give a fuck about Tennessee. I don't.
I don't either. I really don't. Like, I'm just for shits and giggles, let me look at Tennessee here. They lost a lot of talent here, and they played. Let's see, who do they play across here? So they play Texas A&M. They play Alabama. Are those the only two that they play?
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
They're sticking with their 8 conference games. And by the way, it's a terrible pool.
Oh, that is. Yeah.
Georgia.
Yeah.
Georgia.
No, Tennessee. No.
Yeah.
You know that trash can that we've seen all too often?
Yeah, trash can. Yeah.
The trash can makes a comeback here.
So let's
turn
here's
our
focus
to
the
West.
West. Let's turn
the West here. A lot of talks still. Similar, not the same. Similar to like Ohio State, Alabama doesn't know who the quarterback is, but
no, not similar.
I said similar. Hold on. Similar as in they don't know who the quarterback is, but at least with Ohio State, they know that both quarterbacks are good. I can't say the same for Alabama here.
How on earth did Alabama not get a quarterback out of the portal? We saw several good quarterbacks move through the portal this year. None of them. Bama couldn't get one guy out of the portal. They got Tyler Buckner. You couldn't get anyone out of the portal? You got nobody out of the portal? I mean,
That's
good
right.
God, y'all.
They had former Notre Dame starter Tyler Buckner.
Yeah, that's the gangland just pointed that out. And
Oh,
they listen. Do you think Notre Dame's upset about that trade? They
nope.
aren't.
Nope.
And like, did you see Hartman? And granted, it was Navy, and they were in Dublin, and maybe the air's thinner there. I don't know anything about Dublin, but and like, did Hartman look amazing? No, but were they? But was Notre Dame running their? Like, was Notre Dame really running their entire offense? What did he look fine for it being his first game in that offense with those teammates? Notre Dame looks legitimately good. Yeah. And again, there were good quarterbacks move through the portal this year. How does Alabama only get Tyler Buckner?
Dare I say, Jared? And I'm probably going to be wrong because Alabama does Alabama things every year. But I think the competition in the West is going to be between LSU and Texas A&M this year.
No, I refuse to believe Texas A&M ever puts anything together ever. There is no bigger is Texas back bait this year than Texas A&M. No, like it's the same conversation as Texas and as Florida State and every other. Oh, but they got a lot of talent, you guys. Okay, they always have talent. Put it together.
When I look at the schedule, though, Jared, I really like Texas A&M. Like their cross, they play South Carolina and Tennessee, which I think they'll both win that one. They do have Alabama at home, but they do have LSU on the road. I think it's a favorable schedule for Texas A&M this year. Now, yes, I understand all the points that you were just saying about Texas A&M, and they just always pull a fast one on us, and they just collapse. But yeah, I don't know unless Alabama comes up with whoever's going to be a starting quarterback and they just play lights out. Alabama's going to be just so one-dimensional this year. So one-dimensional. But their defense will keep them in games, though.
Yeah. I got Georgia beating LSU for the championship.
So do I. Yeah, I have LSU coming out on top in the West, and Georgia's the new Bama now. It's the new top dog. The new top dog in the SEC.
And that's not me saying that Bama can't be Bama again, because they can be, but that's not where we're at currently. And Saban's getting older, and Saban, I've been telling you guys for years, is not going to come to Columbus.
Nope, he's not.
Also, I mean, with all the conference realignment and the Big Ten talking about maybe moving to, Big Ten, SEC is like sticking hard on 8 conference games. Everyone else has moved to 9, and Big Ten's talking about moving to 10 now. So that whole game could get called off for all we know. But I don't know. Like I always said, like, Saban's not coming to Columbus. You know that he'll retire before that. When is that? When is that? 2025 that Bama is scheduled to come up to Columbus, or is that 2026? Is it 27? 27. So you still get a few years on that. Can Saban at his current age stomach being mediocre? Because with the level of competition in the SEC, which is still top to bottom the best conference in college football, at least for this year, he did for most of his coaching career. That is simply not true. I mean, he had to build Michigan State up from nothing. And Michigan State just has a cap on them. Like, Michigan State just has a cap on him. Then he didn't do well in the NFL, but like what college coaches do. It's a different game. It's a different game. And like he's a recruiting monster. That's who he is. Saban is, when everyone talks about, a CEO coach. That's who they're talking about. A guy who hires and manages his coaching staff and hires and manages his players. So the question, can Saban's stomach being mediocre for a few years until Bama can sort of get things figured out? Because I don't think they're going to be great this year. And when I say when I say I don't think Bama is going to be very good or just not great this year, it's by Bama standards. Like, I still think that they win. All right. Did you make your prediction there for the SEC, Kyle?
Yeah, it's Georgia, the top dog.
Yeah, but who are they going to beat in the
LSU.
LSU? Okay.
LSU as well, yeah.
All right. Real quick, Kyle, who do you got for your playoff prediction? I have Georgia number 1, Ohio State number 2, USC number 3, and Michigan number 4.
I have Georgia number 1. I have Michigan number 2. I have Ohio State number 3. And then number 4. Yeah, I knew that was coming. And then number 4. I really, really want to say Washington, but I just can't put a Pac-12 teams in. Pac-12
okay,
team
they're a
in
Big
there.
Ten team. They're not a Pac-12 team. They're Big Ten in waiting.
Yeah. So I'm just going to, just based on schedule and the road that they have ahead of them, I'm going to put Florida State as number 4.
Okay. Now, do you really think the playoff committee would put Ohio State and Michigan in the first round of the playoffs against each other?
Yeah.
So, I mean, do you just want to go ahead and flip Ohio State and Florida State?
Yeah, but then that's just going to be exactly what Pick 6 has.
That's fine. Like, it's kind of a chalk prediction, and that's not a knock on you or them. My prediction's no less. I mean, USC is a little bit more of a flyer, but only by a little.
So, I thought a lot. Gangland asked, do we get 2 Big Ten teams and 2 SEC teams this year?
Possible.
I
totally.
Honestly, it just depends on how well LSU does. But I think that
or Bama.
I think the West division in the SEC is just going to be a bloodbath, and I think you're going to see multiple losses.
Yeah.
Going into the SEC championship game.
Yeah.
And maybe if Georgia goes in undefeated, they lose to LSU. LSU goes in, and Georgia slips in into the playoffs because they only have one loss to LSU. Yeah, I can possibly see that, but
it's just going to be a round robin bludgeoning in the SEC West, though, because none of those teams, all those teams are good, but none of them are great, and they're just going to beat the hell out of each other without any sort of clear, as you said, like they're all going to come out of the SEC West is all going to come out with a couple losses.
Well, here's a question too. Could you say the same thing about the East Division in the Big Ten? You got 3 teams who can possibly just beat up on each other too.
I think Michigan and Ohio State are both good enough to be playing against each other undefeated, or be playing against each other with one of them having a loss. And if one of them has a loss, then they just need to be the team that wins. Because like I think Penn State's a fine team. And by the way, you'll note that we didn't predict the Big Ten. We did a whole Big Ten prediction. You can go a few weeks ago. You can go just watch our Big Ten preview special. Kyle, before we go, and we probably don't have time for this, but I'm gonna do it anyway because I want to. So screw it. So there's no reason, no explanation, just answer.
All right.
Georgia, 11.5 wins, over/under.
Over.
I agree. Michigan, 10.5 wins, over/under.
Hold on, say that again.
Michigan, 10.5 wins, over under.
Over.
Ohio State, 10.5 wins, over under. Speed round, Kyle.
Based on what I had my prediction, under.
Oh, you're not earning yourself fans right now, Kyle.
I know.
Bama, 10.5.
Under.
I agree. USC, 10.5.
Under.
I disagree. Clemson, 10.5.
Under.
I agree. Penn State, 9.5.
Over.
Under. Florida State, 9.5.
Over.
I weirdly agree. LSU, 9.5.
Over.
I don't know. I'm gonna go under. Texas, 9.5.
Over.
I agree. Oklahoma, 9.5.
Under.
I agree. Oregon, 9.5.
I'll say under.
I agree. Washington, 9.5.
Over.
Oh, I'm gonna agree.
Over.
Kyle,
10x.
here,
Over.
Kyle, you want some easy money? You want some easy money? Tennessee, 9.5.
Under.
Oh my God, hit that under so hard. Notre Dame, 8.5.
Over.
I would go over on that as well. All right.
Mm-hmm.
See, that was worth it. It only took like 2 minutes. Totally worth it. All right, Kyle. We have in the Sloopcast store right now 5 new designs. Go to merch.thesloopcast.com. Always be plugging. The Sloopcast Pick'em is live. If you're in the Discord server, just go to the announcements page or ask one of us and we'll get you a fresh link in case you can't find it. But just go to the announcements page in the Discord server and you will find a link and the password to join our Against the Spread Sloop picks all season. So just come join the Discord server and you can join us in that. It's totally free. You can see all that information in the free channel of the Discord server. It's good. It's great. You don't got to worry about it. Totally free. In the Discord server, we now have Sloop coins. What are Sloop coins? It's a totally made up currency. And like, okay, all currencies are made up, but like it's not worth anything. But you can earn them by talking and chatting and participating in the Discord server. And then we have a wagers channel that we just set up, and you can use your fake coins to place fake bets on a bunch of the stuff we talk about on the show. We'll have over-unders in there. We'll have straight-up pick games in there. It'll be a lot of fun. And all you have to do to earn those coins is come to the Discord server and talk and chat and participate with people, and you will earn coins. And you can then use those coins to bet in our way. It's free gambling. It's totally free, risk-free gambling, except that you'll make friends in the Discord server, and then you'll want bragging rights against those friends. So that's what it's worth. And maybe there'll be a store at some point, but we don't know about that yet. Kyle, do you have anything in Kyle's Corner?
Just real quick here, because I know we're way over in time here.
Yeah, we're sort of over. It's fine.
Yeah, just hope for the speediest of recoveries for Sammy Sasso, the wrestler for Ohio State here, who was in who was shot from a car theft situation. Was it last weekend, I believe? Had some bad news that just came over this weekend here, where he has to have some pretty comprehensive physical therapy just to learn how to walk again. So it's devastating news to hear that, and hope the speediest and hopefully speediest recovery, and hopefully he comes out of it fully recovered in the end.
Yeah, I mean, the good news is, if we're looking for good news in a terrible situation, which is what I'm attempting to do. The good news is that, you know, he is a scholarship athlete at Ohio State, and much like what we saw, you know, with the football program and guys getting sick, or guys, you know, we've had several guys who, you know, would get sick or whatnot. Your medical stuff is covered, which is fantastic, which is great. So that's, you know, the university will take care of his medical expenses, which could have otherwise been financially ruining. Even if he had insurance, it could have been financially ruining. So he does at least not have to worry about that aspect of things.
Yep.
So a thing to be grateful for, in a situation in which we're desperately looking for things to be grateful for. Is that it, Kyle? Is that what you got? I really just didn't like saying, "Is that it?" right there. I just want to point that out. I didn't like that. Is there anything else in Kyle's corner?
No, that's it for today. And we're going to get back on schedule here, where we're going to have 2 more episodes this week. We're going to post one. We're going to post an episode Thursday for our...
Hey, Kyle. Because of how we're having to like switch up the recording schedule, how would you feel about, instead of Thursday morning, Friday morning, Wednesday night, Thursday night?
I'm fine with that. However you want.
Just a thought. We'll see what happens.
But yeah, we're going to talk about Ohio State preview and the national preview, which is the return of our sloop picks. So stay tuned.
So normally, maybe I'll switch things up. Maybe I won't. But just normally, Mondays will be Ohio State review of the game that just happened. Tuesday will be a national review of the past weekend. Thursday is the Know Your Enemy episode, where we preview the game, and Friday is the Sloop Picks episode, where we pick 6 games against the spread for that upcoming weekend. So that's the schedule coming up. Now, Kyle, we are way over. So with all that, I have to introduce the band. Tonight's ending music will be brought to you by Injecting Strangers. The name of this band is called Injecting Strangers. So with all that being said, I'd like to encourage everyone to drink local beer, listen to local music, for sports for local podcasters. Once again, these are the Injecting Strangers.